Hi guys, Olive here today to let you know what I'm planning to read in June of 2019. If you've been around my channel since the end of last year, you may know that it was a goal of mine for 2019 to read books off of several different lists that I had curated for myself. And excitingly enough, I'm finishing up one of those lists this month. I wanted to read all the books that I had talked about in a video I did last summer called The 10 Most Popular Books on my TBR, and so far I have either read, unhauled, or DNF'd 9 of those 10 books. The only one remaining is The Magicians by Lev Grossman. This is a very divisive fantasy novel that I've heard referred to as Harry Potter for adults, but then I've heard other people say that that's really not the case. But in any event, this is the first book in a fantasy trilogy that I've been meaning to read forever. I really love reading fantasy during the summer, so I'll be looking forward to picking this one up as the weather grows hotter. I'm also thinking about making a video about this whole experience of reading the 10 most popular books off of my TBR, or at least interacting with them in the case of the Unhaul and the DNF. But I think I would like to tie it into a bigger conversation about reading popular books. I don't know, let me know what you think about this idea. But there are also 2 other lists that I am still working on, still have a ways to go before those lists are completed. So off of my classics TBR for this month, I will be reading The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton, which is all about a high society woman's fall from grace. I read The Age of Innocence last year and thought that it was breathtakingly written, so I have very high expectations for this one. And then the book I'll be reading off of my 5-star nonfiction predictions list is The Secret Life of Cows by Rosamund Young. This is a tiny little book all about what beautiful, complex creatures cows are and how humans willingly ignore this fact so that we can continue to treat them the way that we do. I know this one is going to hit me just directly in the feels. And then on to the books that aren't off of any kind of a list. I am planning to buddy read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid with Roxanne from the novel Sanctuary. I was offered this arc from the publisher a couple of months back and had every intention of reading it around release. But when it arrived and I started paging through it, I was like, this is a summer book. This is about a rock and roll band in the 1970s who go through major drama on the road. I've heard that this is told through interview format, and so I'm really hoping that it reads like a VH1 Behind the Music episode. God, I used to love those. This author's previous book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, was a nearly universally beloved Booktube darling. But as much as I've seen a lot of people around Booktube pick this up, there's been really no consensus about it. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm trying my best not to go into this book expecting Evelyn Hugo all over again because I too really loved that book. I think that would just set me up for disappointment, but I'm actually really curious to see where I'm going to fall on that spectrum. One that I know is not going to disappoint me is my annual reread of my favorite book of all time, Rules of Civility by Amor Towles. Words cannot express how excited I am to reread this book, although I think this will be my 5th time picking it up. I have talked about this book so much over the years, so I won't go into too many details about the plot, but basically this is a work of historical fiction set in 1938 in New York City. It is full of so much wisdom and class and has writing that is as crisp as white linen. I'm going to have to really stop myself from binge reading this all in one day. Another one that I've been beyond hyped about is Skeleton Keys, The Secret Life of Bone by Brian Switek. This is obviously a nonfiction work all about bones, their function, their composition, but also their cultural impact. I am borderline obsessed with medical nonfiction. It's like all I want to read these days, so I've been itching to get this one. Plus, this book has one of the most gorgeous covers I have ever seen. You know I am all about those bright colors. And the title actually reminds me of one of my very favorite songs called Skeleton Key by Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos. Highly recommend you give that one a listen. I may even do so while I'm reading this book. I'm also finally planning to getting around to reading Less by Andrew Sean Greer, which was the 2018 Pulitzer Prize winner for fiction. I know this one kind of popped out of nowhere and surprised everyone that he took the win with it, but honestly it didn't shock me that much. Like 2 months before I started on Booktube, I had read a historical fiction novel of his called The Impossible Lives of Greta Wells, and I was blown away by it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So I know that he has a ton of talent. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with this tale of a failed novelist. Like Daisy Jones, I've been saving this next one for the summer months as well. That book is Dreaming in Turtle, A Journey Through the Passion, Profit, and Peril of Our Most Beloved Prehistoric Creatures by Peter Lawford. This one came out back in November, and I was considering reading and reviewing it during Nonfiction November, but I also decided that this one would be best read during the summer. This book is all about turtles and the threats they face. Mainly human threats. It seems like it's going to be a really similar read to Voices in the Ocean by Susan Casey, which was all about dolphins. I read that one a couple years back. These are heartbreaking types of books, but they are also fascinating explorations of these creatures, and also critically important in heightening awareness of the danger that we're putting them in. I was approved on NetGalley a while back for a book called The Paper Wasp by Lorena Campora. I held off on reading it because the release date was so far in the future, but now that that date is imminent, it's due to be released on June 11th. I am starting to consider picking this book up and potentially reviewing it. This book is all about a complicated female friendship. Our main character is a disillusioned artist who is languishing away in her hometown, being professionally envious of her former best friend's skyrocketing Hollywood career. But when the two reconnect, their friendship is reestablished, but on the shaky grounds of ambition and desperation. This one sounded way too good to pass up, and that cover is just divine. And then lastly, I just heard about a new memoir that is being advertised as perfect for readers of H is for Hawk by Helen Macdonald, which happens to be one of my very favorite nonfiction books, so I had to make this one a high priority. That book is called Rough Magic, Riding the World's Loneliest Horse Race by Laura Pryor Palmer. This is her account of how she, at age 19, competed in the world's longest and toughest horse race, which is held in Mongolia. This race has a long and storied history and is far more rough and tumble than any kind of derby you'll see on television. It sounds directly up my alley. So the only thing I have left to do in this TBR video is pick my options for my random book off of my TBR for the month. If you've never seen me do this, what I do is go to my Goodreads to read shelf and use a random number generator to pick 3 different options of books. This month, my 3 random options are number 1, Solo by Rana Dasgupta. Option number 2, A Natural History of Beer by Rob DeSalle and Ian Tattersall. And option number 3, The Waterless Sea, A Curious History of Mirages by Christopher Pinney. Up until a few months ago, I was the one who picked which of these 3 books I would go on to read for the month, but I have actually handed over that choice to those viewers who are willing and able to pledge a small amount of support to the channel. Although this is still very much a hobby to me, there are unfortunately still costs involved, especially if you want to make consistently high quality content. So in exchange for this show of support, you get the opportunity to vote on which of these 3 books I pick up during the month, and you have the opportunity to read the winner alongside me if it interests you. If you would like to and are able to be a part of this, I will put a link down in the description box below for where you can go and join in. But if this is not something that interests you or not something that you are financially capable of doing, I totally understand. You are not going to be completely excluded. You just won't hear what book won and what my thoughts on it are until my June wrap up. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to get to during the month of June. I know there are quite a few, but I do like to aim high with my ambitions. I would love to hear from you if you've read any of these books, if you've heard of them, or if you're now interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them. You can put that or any other comments or questions you may have in the comment section below. But if you prefer to speak with me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.